Hey people, I found some cool stuff in this old book. It's talking about the canna here, cannabis. This is all in Latin. But it's on the top of the classes of Mona Andrea, one man, Monogyna, one woman. And you can see that the canna, its ruling planet is Jupiter. All three of the cannas. And Jupiter's known as the fourth planet. And that's why the symbol of Jupiter looks so much like a 4. This book is called The Species Planetarium. And it's written in Latin. It was written by Carolinus. A-E is E-S. The Carolinas. And I believe he was British and he went by Carl Linus. Carolinus. And this was the way he read it in Latin. And so if you're not real good with the Latin, I found a real good place to start. And after this book was written, 1753, and what it is, it has every known plant at the time. Somebody had interpreted in an English and added some letters to his cousin in it. This book is called Letters on the Elements of Botany in 1807, and he starts with an inscription to the ladies of Great Britain. And so there's some code in the language, with all humility inscribed by the translator and editor. So he explains that Linus had used the parts of the flower to log all the plants, so you could just look at a flower closely. If you understood what you were looking at, you could go straight to the book and find it. So after the introduction, it begins here, letters on the elements of botany to a lady. And so the lady is written as his cousin here. So he is writing these letters to his cousin in 1771 he started. And you read here on the bottom of page 20, we have nothing therefore to do yet with the nomenclature, which is but the knowledge of a herborist. And so the nomenclature is the meaning of all those Latin words that give the plant its place. He says you know the whole of this already, at least enough to understand the term. But there's a principal part which requires examination more at large. I mean the fructification, that is the flower and the fruit. And here he explains the parts of the flower and explains the names. And so you catch in here this Latin and what this means, the monoandria, the diandria, triandria. And so the andria is the male part of the flowers, the stamen. So these are Greek names, and some of them not short ones. Since, however, there are only 420 in all. 4 and 20. Then down in letter 11 he wrote in June 1774, he talks about the class of the Monoandria. He says there's another plant of this class and order which your gardener may possibly have in the hothouse. This plant has the name of Indian shot. Linus calls it the canna. Thus much for the genus, of which there are 3 species at least. And Linus has distinguished his 3 species thus: Canna indica, Canis angustifolia, and the third, Canis glauca, sea green Indian shot. Yours would be one of the 2 first species. And so all you had to do was pick a flower, and you get the class by counting the stamens on the flower, and then the order would come from the pistils on the flower. So this system has nothing to do with the species. It's just a count of the stamens and pistils in the flower, characteristics of the flower, to bring you to a page with all the flowers with that characteristics. And then you pick out the species from that page. It's just going to give you the genera, not the species. Species coming from the leaves. And so after you understand these Latin words, you could pick any flower and take a close look at it. So you just look at a flower and you count the anthers or the stamen, and that's going to give you the class. And then you count the pistils, and that's going to give you the order. And so if you had one Andre, one stamen, and one pistil, one gyna, you would come to the first order. Monandrea, monogynia. Mono, one gyna. Monogeny, one man, one woman. And then you just shoot down here and check the other qualities in this category, the leaves, everything else about it. And so there's a good chance, that Carol Linus wasn't his name. Carl Linus. Or maybe he was just saying that he likes to grow this canifolius in habitats in Carolinas. He likes to grow it in his own house. And there's just a couple of plants in this category, not many. And then I go to the one man, two women. Mona Andrea Digina. That's where your word degenerate comes from. Oh, degenerate, Digina. And then I go to the Diandre Monogina. The Diandre. And this is probably the biggest. Most of the flowers you look at, they come with two stamens, one gyna. And then it'll go to Diandre Digina. And then Trigyna. And then it'll go up to Triandre Monogina, and it'll count up. And so that's all it's doing. It has them listed in the number of the flower. And so what this has to do with anything, the Jupiter is the ruling planet over Canna, the cannabis, the planet 4. And the Ka is 20. This is 420. On page 1, it's the first thing it goes to. The most important planet, the 420. K is 20. So in the Greek story of creation on the first page, 6th day, when it says God made man the first time, according to the image of God, the word is anther upon. He put an anther upon on him. They say this means man, human, mankind, but it doesn't. It means male, an anther upon. A lot of times they use a bunch of different words, and a lot of times it'll be anthropod. So a pod is a foot. So it's either talking about the filament or where the filament attaches would be the foot of it, Maybe talk with a stamen, and it may be talking about the position of where it's attached. And then underneath here where it says he made them male and female, he made them. The word's arsen, A-R-S-E-N, fire. Arsen and looks like the loo, but this hyphen up here lets you know that this is beginning, ending of words. And so it's the fire, W-T-H, with halo. The fire with halo. And that's the devil, W-T-H with H-L-U, halo. And so what this is actually talking about here, they're saying this is God over here, Theos. And they're saying this is made, and it's the Po, the P-O is the mouth. And then the I-H-S, that's the same I-H-S you see the Pope carrying around on that sign all the time. That's the sun seal of the Pope, is the I-H-S. And then this E-N on the end of it, you can replace it with a B. So it could be read N or V or B. And so what this means is the Po, the mouth, and I-H-S is eaches. It's the same word for Jesus. You'll see the same thing. The first 3 letters of Jesus. And it means eaches, itches. And so the mouth itches in. He eaches in. Everybody, the mouth eaches in is the tongue. And so that's what it's saying. It's a poetic, alchemical way of saying the tongue, L. And so it's low the O's. Low the O's, this is T-H-E, and then the hyphen lets me know this is another word, O's. You see old Satanists having their seance, and they're singing, oh, Theos. That's where that comes from. Oh, oh. And so this says, in the mouth each is in the L, the command, the word, made with the word, the low, down low, the knowledge of the O's. And so the O's are here. That's the low planets. Jupiter and Saturn outside, they're high planets. They're way out there. They don't get O's. This is low, the O's. And so to the mouth each is in, the tongue, to see the O's, the low, the O's. Ton means to fashion, or, to put it on, to put on your clothes, to fashion, to ton, anther upon. So it's talking about the creation of Mars. And this is an anther. If you ever took a real close look at a flower, that's the anther. And so on this first page, it's talking about the creation of alchemical symbols, for a reason being that they're used in all this ancient alchemy. And they mean many different things. The Pfeiffer, habitat in America, under the sun. Calidor, warm or fiery or spirited. It's a plant under the sun. So you could take all this out and just replace this with the L, and the same down here. And it says, will owe the O's ton anther upon. And then the cat take the jackin. You don't see it in this Bible, but in the Septuagint it has more markings. You see the cat here with this marking. And this isn't one you see often like this. Usually they're in top of the letters or in the beginning of a word. And I believe it has you read up to the next mark here, and then back and start again. And so it's the cat, they, the jackon. Either that or it reads backwards. The cat take, jackon. The ton, anther upon, and catty, they jack on. And so the image, they're getting that from icon, but icon is one word and it stops right there in the middle, on. The catty, they jackin. Thou will, THEO, thou, and then will, W-L. Thou will what on arson, and then with HL, with hell, will what to self, what to us. Will hell, will owe the O's ton anther upon. Catty, they jacken, thou will what on. Fire with hail, will what to us. So before the Greeks got this Bible, the Septuagint, all their gods were planets. And even when they got this Bible, all their gods were still planets. So I'm still trying to backtrack. I found a whole bunch of good stuff. I'm going to put this in this backtrack folder. And it's probably going to take a couple more movies to get back to where I started this.
Don't forget. I won't forget.
Alright, I'm going to cut this off here. Good day.